since we're on that topic, we decided to give each other a bit of homework. In all honesty,
Yeah.
we are constantly telling each other to watch something. So I figured let's just make like a top 5 list of things that we want each other to see, just to gauge our opinions on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things I already have a Blu-ray collection, and I have it ready here. So I will slowly start showing you guys what I want him to watch and why. He has it. He has a list on his phone. Mm-hmm. So if you want to take it off,
So the first one is Edge of Tomorrow
with Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, right?
Yeah, and this movie, like, I think was like super weird about it because I didn't watch it in theaters. I watched it like it was like on HBO or some kind of rerun, and I remember like the build up to it and being like, what the fuck even is that movie? Like, it was so weird. But then they relaunched it like when they were really trying to re-promote it because they were like, I don't think the audience understood what the movie was really about.
You know that they renamed it, the movie.
No, it was the next title was called Live Die or it was like Live Die Repeat.
Yeah,
it's not the title of the movie. It's just like the slogan essentially. That's what they switched it to. So like if you buy a Blu-ray and like a paper slip on it, the paper slip will say Live Die Repeat, but on the actual cover art it will say Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a really good fucking movie. It's really action packed and like.
What did you enjoy about it the most?
Just the
premise.
It has like it's a premise and it's also like kind of like a mystery kind of like an unexpected mystery movie.
Okay,
I guess is the best way to explain it because you're like you think it's building up to be something and it ends up being something else and I don't know, it was just really good action honestly, and it was like basically it was like what's the most creative ways we can kill Tom Cruise consistently and constantly. Yeah, and like that's the whole premise of the movie, and it's a good movie.
So is this a movie that Tom Cruise haters can watch and enjoy?
Yes, I think so. If you don't like Tom Cruise, you're gonna like it because
he'd be like, yeah, I like the way
he dies in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I've seen some of. I think I saw like a clip, a TikTok clip of him just dying. You know how those edits and stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's insane, actually. Like, like there's points where he doesn't even make it to the war.
No, he doesn't. Right? He dies in like the training room.
Yeah, exactly.
So because like in this world, like you need to be elite. You know what I mean?
Which makes sense.
Blunt's character will
literally kill him.
Right? Yeah, Blunt's character will literally kill him in the training room. She's like, if you can't survive this room, you're not going to survive out there. That's like the whole mentality, essentially.
I mean, that's
so he won't even make it to the battlefield sometimes. But like just seeing his natural progression and like you think he's a badass, and then he gets on the field, you're like, oh, this is a different type of world. Like it's like that.
Yeah. Okay, but, that's cool. I like that. I'll give you my number 5. Child's Play, and it's the 2019 remake. He's been very iffy on wanting to watch this, which is understandable because our general consensus with remakes is most of them are really not good.
Yeah.
But this is from the producers of It, and I watched this in theaters, and I was like so happy. I think it's first of all, Chucky is voiced by Mark Hamill, the voice of the Joker.
Oh, okay.
And I think this remake does exactly what I want a remake to do, and that's kind of honor the original, but do your own thing. And making him AI, in retrospect, everyone's like, no, I don't like it. And at first, I really didn't either. But when I watched this, man, dude, this is before Megan came out.
That
before any other AI horror movie is big AI horror movie. We're not gonna count Ex Machina because
I was gonna say
that
Ex
was a
Machina,
great movie.
That came out like 2013, I think. Or
yeah,
2014.
Somewhere before
around
Child's Play.
Yeah.
But I really think this remake is actually really fun, like hilariously funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
really?
I think it's funny. There's one-liners in it.
I just remember the trailers and him being hyped about it and him trying to hype me up about it. I grew up scared of Chucky. I've always been scared of like these dolls that like come alive and they like capture you. I've always been scared of that. And I remember seeing the trailers. To me, it looked like it was trying too hard. That's why I was like,
which is understandable. Honestly, I don't think the trailers did it justice. Because I think this is a fun time.
So you think it was poorly promoted?
Absolutely, I think it was.
So we're both kicking off with 2 movies that were poorly promoted.
Yeah, and it's also hugely in part to one of the biggest criticisms is that they never came to the original Child's Play creator for like some sort of consulting. Yeah. But again, if you're like, it does what I want a remake to do, and that's honor the original but do your own thing. And I think it does that very perfectly.
So is he like AI or is he an actual robot?
He's like a mix of both.
Okay.
And Aubrey Plaza's in it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so she's really good as the single mom. She's awesome. Bryce Tyree Henry plays a cop in it, and he's really, really good. Dude, I'm telling you, this movie is gonna surprise you in a way where you're gonna be like, "This was really fun."
I mean, I hope so. I mean,
I think the same reason why you like it Part 1
mm-hmm.
with the kids is gonna be the reason why you like this.
Oh,
one.
okay, okay.
Because the kids are a big highlight for me.
I mean, I liked Part 2 of it, but I just felt like Part 1 was just significantly.
I do want to warn you though, as cat lovers, be prepared for a cat not to make it. That's all I was.
No, is it brutal?
And he's an orange cat too.
Oh my god, maybe I don't want to watch.
You're like, it's too real. But yeah, dude, Child's Play is definitely up there. It's not my number one for you to watch, but it's one, and I think that when you sit down, you're gonna be like, okay, you might have been right. This was a fun time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next up is a Western. There's not a lot of Westerns that I'm go-hoing about, but this is something that I watched with my grandfather that he loved, so I watched with him. So it has a little bit of nostalgia for me.
I have a quick question though. Did he ever watch the original?
310 to Yuma?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Oh wow.
He was huge into Westerns. Like,
yeah,
I mean, he grew up in that era.
I remember. I mean, you know, he's the one that got you into like all the old school movies, like the Blade
my
Runners
grandfather showed me. I credit him so much for me having what I consider good taste.
Any
in
good
movies.
taste of movies that he has from back in the day definitely
It's
came from
all
his grandpa.
I will give credit to him 100%.
They weren't,
and there, a few of them are on here, but like, you know, yeah. Anyways, it's 310 to Yuma, the remake.
Mm-hmm.
I personally haven't seen the original, but the 310 to Yuma remake, it's just like a good Western. Like it's a very simple premise and it has good action. You know, the premise is essentially there's a struggling farmer. Him and his son is now like, you know, of age at that time. He's like 13. He needs to becoming a man, you know, wielding a gun or whatever. So he wants to prove himself to his dad. So he goes with his dad to transport a high level criminal to a train station so he can go. This is like the era of the like it's no longer starting to become the Wild Wild West. You know, it's starting to be more civilized.
Oh,
and,
like
you know,
there's a lot more police.
It's like if you played the first Red Dead Redemption, it's like that time era.
Okay.
You know, like they're starting to build machine guns and cars are slightly becoming, you know, like
it's
the next
slowly
idea.
starting to become the world that we know today.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So they're trying to transport
Christian Bale is in that, right?
Yeah, he's the lead, and then he's with he played Cal's dad. He played Gladiator. Fucking blanking.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, Russell Crowe. That's the big gangster. He plays the big gangster.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so-
a cast.
Yeah, it's a good cast.
Really?
Yeah, and you'll know his gang members too, because his gang members are essentially the whole movie is like his gang members are trying to capture them and.
You know, that's the director of Logan.
See, there you go. That's probably why
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. It has a good score.
I that's a
anyone
movie
that
that
hasn't
has
watched
gone
it, I
under the
would think-
radar for me.
Yeah,
But I want to watch it. I've heard so many good things about it. It's one of those remakes I hear a lot of people raving about.
yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. Now, like I haven't watched it in a long time, but I own it.
I
And
heard
I
it still
always
holds up.
remember loving it. So I'm like, yeah, I want you to watch it.
I'm definitely, I do want to watch that. So absolutely. And for my number 2 pick, it is a boxing movie, and in my opinion, it's probably. I'm gonna be bold and say it's the best boxing movie.
Whoa.
Not in terms of action,
Okay.
but in terms of what I think boxing is. In terms of like the lifestyle.
When did this come out?
This came out 2016.
Okay.
It doesn't have a high budget, but it's called Bleed for This. It's Miles Teller, Aaron Eckhart. It's based on a true story about Vinny Paz, a boxer who got in a car accident and broke his neck. The doctors told him that he was never going to box again. He's lucky if he's going to be able to walk again. And what ensues is definitely the best comeback, one of the best comebacks in sports history of all time.
Really? What's the time period of the movie?
I want to say
Or his real life.
I want to say like 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, man, and it's about it just picking yourself back up when you're so low. There's a quote in the movie where they ask him, "What is the biggest lie someone's ever told you?" And he says that it's not that easy. He's like, "It really is that easy." And then there's also another bit where you know, he tells his coach like giving up is so easy that it scares me. And this movie is so good. Like I will tear up at the end all the time when they, in the boxing movies where they give him that speech to get him up and going. And man, dude, I'm telling you, this movie is such an emotional roller coaster, and it really is. I think it brings to life the spirit of boxing, of picking yourself back up from a loss and getting back out there and fighting through adversity. And it's one of my favorite boxing movies of all time, and I think it's the best boxing movie. So,
wow.
Yeah, man.
I mean, he's tried to get me to watch it before. Like, this was like a long time ago, and I just fell asleep both times. I was also super high.
Yeah.
And it was like the end of the night. We've like been out doing whatever we did at that time.
Yeah.
And we were just falling asleep.
Yeah, dude.
But it's something that because he's talked about this multiple times outside of just the pod, and it is something that I actually genuinely want to watch as well.
And Miles Teller fucking kills it.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I really like. I still need to watch Whiplash, right?
You've never seen
I've
Whiplash?
never watched Whiplash.
Oh my god!
You own it?
I don't actually.
Okay, so he can't even
But
be
I
that
can't.
mad.
No, okay, but I've seen it though.
I've always
And
wanted to
it's
watch
so
it.
good. Oh, dude, now I have to buy it on Blu-ray.
I've always wanted to watch it, but it's just like I don't
This
know.
is my
I just
favorite
never got around
performance
to it.
from him, but Whiplash is damn fucking good. But Whiplash,
Well,
you could
Whiplash was his
argue
like
is
first movie, was
Jake. No,
No, I mean like it's one that like
really put him.
yeah,
like, his
put like
acting
burst
up.
on the scene.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because that came out.
That's how I remember.
2014. He was kind of coming out with comedies before.
Yeah.
Uh,
I remember him in I think it was 21 and Over.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good ass movie. That's a fun movie.
He was also in Project X.
Yeah, Project X is a great ass.
He was a cameo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was great. And it's funny because when he's in that movie, you're like, who the fuck is that guy? He seems cool, But yeah, man. Bleed for this, amazing.
All right, my next up is I'm actually gonna bump one down. Mine's Inception. Now he hasn't. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. He's my favorite director. I've watched I think all of his movies outside of Insomnia and the two Magicians. I forget what it's called. Those are the only two movies I haven't watched.
The Prestige.
Yes, The Prestige. That's what it's called.
That's Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but
I heard it was really
I've heard
good.
a lot of people say it's really good. It's something I've been wanting to watch. I just haven't gone to it. But anyways, Inception is one that I really want him to watch. This is like one of my favorite movies of all time because I remember watching it in theaters and like this was like when the high horn, like the score for a high horn was like becoming to be a thing.
You know what's so funny is I've never seen Inception, but I've listened to the soundtrack a lot.
It's a great fucking soundtrack.
It's a
And, like,
phenomenal
the
soundtrack.
part when they're, I know you've seen it, but when they're in the hotel and they're in the first dream sequence, and he this is what I
That's
love about
sick.
Christopher Nolan.
That is sick,
He
actually.
will build his own sets. He will try to do everything possible
To be
make it as
practical.
practical as possible. And he's literally rotating a whole fucking hallway during a fight scene, and it's just so awesome. It's so good. I could go on and on about it. The ending, you don't know what actually is true or not, and just keep going through the dream sequences, and each one just keep getting more grand and big. It's a fucking dope concept, and it also made me realize that I hadn't realized before I watched the movie is that when you dream, you never have a beginning to a dream. You're always in the middle of it. You're always starting in like the most important part and the most action part of what's happening in your dream.
You kind of just fucked me up with that
Exactly.
realization. Did you not see my reaction?
When I first watched
I was
it, I was
like,
like,
what?
whoa, that's so true. It's always like in the height of whatever's happening. And that's something that I feel like the movie always captures. Because like when it cuts to a new scene, if you've seen Memento, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. Where it will cut to like the most important part and you're like, whoa, what is, like it makes you ponder and question what's going on, and it gets filled out as time goes on. But Inception is next on mine.
I do want to watch it because I do love the soundtrack, and it's weird that I love the soundtrack to a movie, and I've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll definitely want to check it out. I'm pretty sure that's on Max.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think a lot of his movies are on Max.
And a lot of this list is also because we're constantly telling each other to watch something, so I just figured it'd be easier. Like, let's make a top 5 list. We don't have to watch it within a week, but even if we watch
we could just
one pick per
review
week,
it on
on
as
an
pods
upcoming
go on.
episode. Yeah, exactly. Because right now he's in the middle of Superman and Lois, and he's into
about
it.
to be on the
I knew he
season
was going to be
finale.
into it. So
Yeah, I don't even want to go on that. I'll go on a tangent.
yeah. All right, my next movie is an Oscar-nominated movie.
Okay.
It is Her. It stars Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. It is kind of an odd movie because it is about a guy falling in love with AI,
But when did this come out?
This came
'Cause I
out
think this is
2015, 16, around that time.
Super relevant to now.
Yeah, and it's crazy to say that this is probably, in my opinion, probably the best love story on screen because
Really?
it does something to you, man. You're not supposed to care. This is weird. You know, there is like some sort of like sex scene in there where she's there, like she's just talking, and he kind of like, you know, yeah, exactly. But this whole story about this guy just kind of really wanting to find love and probably telling my futures. But dude, I just can't say enough good things about her. Like, you will probably tear up a little bit. Joaquin Phoenix, as always, kills it. I don't want to spoil anything in the movie either, but this is very prevalent to today as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, her. I really think if you sit down and you watched it with your girl and you just, I think you guys would like it.
Okay. Because the only thing I know about, or from what I remember when it was like first coming out, I was like, "What is that movie?"
It is a weird premise.
It is especially for the time.
Yeah.
'Cause you like I was
It's
just
ahead
coming
of
out
its
of high
time.
school. It's like 2015, and you're like seeing trailers for it, and you're like, I don't know. And then now I'm like, wow, that movie was like kind of ahead of its time, considering like where AI is gonna go and where it potentially is gonna go. It's like super relevant.
Yeah,
But,
man. And I think the movie's gonna surprise you a lot
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
with the amount of heart and depth that
it's
the
a
movie
it's
has.
a pick that I didn't see coming from him. That I'm like, hey, he wants me to watch. But
I mean, I bet you didn't even expect me to even watch it, to be honest.
yeah, I didn't even know you had that in a collection. I always look
I
at his
bought that
collection for the most
immediately.
part.
Yeah,
Really, you bought it immediately?
I bought it as soon as I could. Yeah,
When
because I'm
Best Buy
telling you,
used
dude.
to sell Blu-rays.
I don't want to go.
That's
on
a whole
another
tangent on its
That's
own.
a whole other fucking rant that we could go on.
Anyways, my next up, I bumped it up. I bumped one down. My next up is Tenet. The reason why I bumped it up one is because one thing that he's
Over
always
Inception.
over Inception.
Wow.
No, I'm talking about for you. I'm not talking
Oh,
about what's
okay.
a better movie. I'm talking about for you.
Which one do you think is a better movie?
Inception,
Okay.
100%
Okay.
Inception. Anyways, the reason why I bumped it up is because he's always kind of dogged on the Christopher Nolan trilogy for Batman. He's like, the fight scenes, the fight scenes, the fight scenes, the fight scenes. Now on this, to me, he really went out of his way to be like, all right, Marco, I fucking hear you, bro.
Yeah, he specifically was like, this fucking redhead, this
And
Mexican
fucking
ginger.
redhead, he's like, I gotta teach him a fucking lesson.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my god, those fight scenes in the Batman are the best thing. I just don't think they're as bad as he tries to make them out to be. Now in this, to me, he really writes that wrong. Like he's like, because it's like, okay, I don't want to spoil too much, but he fights someone from the past, and when you figure out how the past works in this time travel movie, it's very like, whoa, because it's
Okay.
like the choreography has to be done in reverse.
Okay.
So I don't want to spoil too much, but it's like when you first watch it, you're just gonna be like, at least for me, I was like, wow, they did that in such a cool way, and it's in a one shot.
Okay.
So
Well, you know what? I'll probably be even more frustrated with him because I'm like, it took you this fucking long to film a good action sequence? You couldn't do that with Batman? Like,
but see, they're not bad action sequences. They're just not as bad as you make it out to be. But the whole
they're
premise of
fucking
the
bad.
movie,
The Batman Begins action sequences are bad.
okay, I don't think so. But all right, whatever. We'll agree to disagree. I just don't think they're that bad. I'm not gonna sit here and say they're like, oh
But
my
I'm,
god. It's
no,
like,
I will admit I'm spoiled.
like
I'm
raid
spoiled
quality.
when it comes to action movie
I know you.
choreography.
He will literally just like watch cuts from movies of like
action
all
sequence.
raid fight scenes, all fucking John Wick's fight
Just
scenes.
martial arts movies are so important to me. Like, there's a movie called Kung Fu Killer that I don't think you've ever even heard of.
No.
That's so fucking badass, but it's also like overseas they just know how to film action. Apparently,
I will
America is
agree with
really
that.
difficult.
Actually,
you know?
they when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, like they're just better at it.
They're like,
for
oh,
some
the
reason.
audience wants to see what's going on. Okay, cool. No, but I do want to watch Tenet.
But
I'm curious.
I blame fucking
'Cause it has
Born Identity
50-50.
for that type of shit, though.
As 50. No, you know who I blame? I blame Hollywood because
that's
because
fine.
just because one movie did it decently doesn't mean that every fucking movie afterwards has to. And that's the Hollywood fucking train. They're like, "Oh, it worked for this movie. Let's do it for all of fucking these." I'm just gonna go off on a tangent if we continue to talk about this.
Go ahead, go to your next one.
My next pick is it's not a double feature, but I really want him to watch The Evil Dead 2 It's a movie that means so much to me.
So is that 1 and 2?
That is 1 and 2, but you don't need to watch 1.
Okay. Just watch 2.
Just watch 2 because 2 basically redoes 1 in like the first 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Just a bunch of stuff I don't really want to get into in terms of like they didn't have the rights for the first movie because it's a different production company that did Evil Dead 2, so they kind of just had to like redo it in a way. But I still think Evil Dead 2 is the better movie personally.
Okay.
It's the one that I grew up watching, and it's the one that I love it. It breaks a lot of horror mold for me, where in terms of like I love it when the main character in a horror movie is just like, you know what, I'm tired of being the victim. I'm coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which makes complete sense. You have a super iconic Bruce Campbell cutting off his hand, you know, putting the chainsaw on it, which is fucking badass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you'll see this movie, and you'll see a lot of current directors. What they do.
Is that the one by Sam Raimi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sam Raimi did all the Evil Dead movies.
Oh, he did all. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he did 1, 2, and Army of Darkness. And he directed the pilot for Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Evil Dead 2, so awesome. I think it goes where you least expect it, but that's one of the reasons why I like it. I love the slapstick comedy. I know it's not for everyone.
But see, I think I mentioned it in the or maybe it was just a different conversation. But I rewatched Multiverse of Madness, and I feel like one of the big gripes that I remember people having was like, oh, the comedy feels like forced or like a little too raunchy or whatever. And I just feel like that's just what Sam Raimi does.
Yeah.
And I've watched a Evil Dead movie. I just don't know which one it was. And it was like I was so young, and
the remake is pretty good, but the remake is just decides to make it a more straightforward horror movie.
Okay.
But the amount of gore and blood is awesome. It's very important to an Evil Dead movie. So yeah, dude, I recommend it. Gives you a really badass introduction to a cool character, and if you did want to branch off from the Evil Dead 2 and you wanted to watch Ash vs. the Evil Dead, I think that's the perfect way to do it. I love Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Evil Dead 2 and then Ash versus the Dead. Okay.
Yeah. That's the way I would go about it. But yeah, that's my pick. What's your
my number one is essentially kind of a rewatch for him, but he fell asleep during it. And it's a movie I think I love. This again, I would have to credit my grandfather for even showing me this at like fucking 8 years old. Watching Blade Runner. I remember just being like in awe to just like the futuristic style that it has. It's like this noir, you know, it's like always raining essentially, and it's just like the world building that the movie accomplishes with the limited technology and production style and stuff like that for that time. Really just it stands the test of time in my opinion. Like the cinematography and the camera work is just so good. But like I said, it's something that he did kind of watch a little bit. You've seen the second one, right? 49?
like bits and pieces?
Oh, okay. I thought you watched it. But yeah,
I feel like I did, but I don't remember. I remember watching the beginning.
the
where
second
Ryan
one's
Reynolds
not
goes to kill Batista.
Yeah.
I did like that a lot, but I think what happened was I think I had to leave, and I put on a movie that I didn't think I was gonna get into, and then I was just like, oh fuck, I gotta go. You know.
Yeah, I think the first one's definitely better than the second one. The second one to me is just they should have just cut things a little bit and it would have been good.
Okay.
That's my only gripe with the second one. But yeah, essentially it's a rewatch because he fell asleep, and I think it's an instant classic. I don't think anyone would argue with that.
Young Harrison Ford.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kills it.
Ridley Scott directed that, I think.
Yeah. He when he knew how to direct movies. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. All right, my number one pick is I've been trying to get him to watch this movie for a long time. He's not the biggest Jason Statham fan.
No, I'm not.
But I wanted him to watch Wrath of Man. It's directed by Guy Ritchie. I think it's such an interesting revenge story because it's in a way Jason Statham still kicks ass, but the story of it is really interesting. The mystery of it. It goes in a way where you really don't expect. And also the fucking score to this movie is awesome to me. I love the score to this movie. It feels like the Sicario score with a little more violins. It's so good.
Sicario's a good
Again,
movie.
it's directed by Guy Ritchie, the director of The Gentleman, which is another one of my favorite movies. And the reason why I want him to watch this movie is because it's not a movie. The trailer didn't do it justice. The trailer just kind of makes it seem like it's an outright Jason Statham's gonna kick ass movie, and there's a lot more stakes in this. And I don't want to ruin it because I don't want to take away from the experience. Because as you watch the mystery unfold, because it's one of those like you start at point, let's say D, then we go back to point A, till you realize how you got to point D, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then it kind of continues. It's such a cool mystery, and it's a role that it's probably my favorite Jason Statham acting role because I feel like here he acts a lot more. He's not as Jason Statham as he usually is. He's a lot more stoic.
Oh, okay.
He's not the one-liner.
Yeah.
You know, he's not.
That's how I always picture him.
Yeah, and that's not what this movie is. So yeah, man, I highly recommend Wrath of Man for anyone who hasn't seen it. I think it's such a fun movie, and again, trailers just don't do it justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's our homework for the week. We'll get back to you when we've seen one of these.
I'll probably honestly the first one I'll watch is probably Bleed for This. That's the one that intrigues me the most, and then probably Evil Dead.
I support 100%. I think you're gonna honestly. I'm gonna be ballsy and say I think you're gonna like all these movies.
All of them, really.
I do think that.
I don't think I'm gonna watch. I will watch it, but I don't think I'm gonna like. What is it called?
Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man. I don't think I'm gonna like that.
I think you're gonna be surprised by it. I still think you are gonna like it. I am. I'm gonna be bold. I think you are gonna like it.
Okay. All right.
Love is a completely different thing.
Okay.
But I think you're gonna like it for what it is. And you'll be like, I didn't expect that. That was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think your least favorite will probably. I don't know, dude.
It
could be Wrath of Man.
These are great movies.
I think these are good momovies.
Honestly, from my list, I think the only one that you probably won't like. No, those are great movies. I don't know.
That's us. That's definitely us.
Yeah,
to
that's
the team,
us.
man.